Oklahoma Bridges here. Welcome to part 7 of the clock rebuild. Now that all the parts have been cleaned, the first thing to do is to wind the springs back up so that we can reassemble the movement. So I have my scrap piece of arbor here installed, and I need to loosen that off and move that out of the way. And then take a mainspring here and put on this. Let's see, which way does this go? It's going to round that way. Put this on. Put that on. Roll that back up into position there, like that. Tighten this thumb screw here. And make sure that this gets on there. This is kind of the trickiest part sometimes, is getting the center of the coil to engage the hook. And there it is engaging, finally. See, I've been keeping the spring wound flat because you see it has a tendency to want to kind of cock off to the side. So we do this, wind it up until the spring is small enough that we can fit the clamp over it. Once the spring is small enough, you can fit a clamp over it. Place a clamp on it. Switch the ratchet over. And wind the spring down and into the clamp. Like that. Now we have the spring contained in a nifty little package there, ready for assembly. Now we'll do the same thing with the other spring. You can see, I make sure that the spring stays flat. Don't want it to get all cockeyed into a little ball there. And when it's small enough again to put the clamp on there, like that, put the retaining ring in. Make sure the spring is completely untensioned. Just like that. So I think it's worth pointing out, you saw me do this barehanded. I'm used to doing this like this. The only time I don gloves when working with a spring usually is winding a phonograph spring out of a spring barrel. I've even usually wind the phonograph springs in barehanded, except for some of the very largest springs, such as the Edison Triumph springs. If you do this with gloves on, you need to use a very clean lint-free glove. The whole purpose of cleaning the springs is to get all the crap off of them. And if you go and use a glove that has a lot of lint and dirt on it, and it puts a lot of crap on the mainspring when you're winding the spring back up to put into the retainer clamps, you might as well not have even cleaned the springs. And that's one of the reasons I usually do this. Well, it's not really. I'm used to doing this barehanded. It's the way I've always done it. Just the way, you know. I only wear gloves when I think it's appropriate. If the spring is extremely massive, I sort of have a sort of machinist attitude towards this. Is that a glove is an invitation to get pulled into a piece of machinery or pulled into the spring, whereas this is in some ways, in my point of view, safer. It might not be that way for you. If you're not that confident, if you're not that familiar with doing this barehanded, I do not suggest that you do it that way. I suggest you wear some gloves, but I suggest you wear some good quality, clean, lint-free gloves. And if that means spending more than $12 or $20 on a pair of gloves to get something that's very good and lint-free, that's not going to leave a bunch of crap in the spring from handling the springs, that's what you need to do if you want to do this and not totally negate all the work that you've done cleaning the springs beforehand. Anyway, that's my little mini lecture mode off. The next part, which I think will be part 8, we will assemble the movement. What I'm going to do at this point, though, is pre-lube these springs by putting a little bit of oil on the coils before we get to the assembly step. I'll probably do that off camera. And the next video, which will be part 8, will be movement assembly. So thank you very much for watching. This is Oklahoma Bridges. See you on the next video.